Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. I have like half an hour, I have 30 minutes. So I thought I'd answer a few questions, but also I came on for a chuckle about Department of State. That's so funny. We've had some really good press coverage in the last couple of days from a reporter called Stuart Anderson. And Forbes is a very well read publication and is considered a little bit right-leaning. And so it hits home to sensible conservatives, I would say, right? And that's probably someone I would consider myself in that sort of range from a political perspective. But sensible conservatives, right? People who perhaps, want fiscally correct stuff, wants, to respect the Constitution, etc., but is open-minded about some of the other ideas from the left. So Forbes is well positioned, and they reported Stuart put a couple of articles out over the last few days, that one of which was about Jesse Pless's filing. And I'm pretty sure that either by Jesse's filing of a lawsuit or by the Forbes article or just a general sort of pressure, there's some reason why today, magically, we see 469 2NLs going out. So when Curtis announced a lawsuit back in December, I think it was December 7th or 8th, he and I got on a Zoom call and did a video thing, and the next day the government announced they were rescinding the document procedure, etc. I mean, it's pretty obvious by now. They did the same thing with a couple of the embassies. Curtis was doing another lawsuit there. So it's funny. It's funny that they can react when they're under the pressure of a lawsuit. When they're going to look bad in front of a judge, they can react. It doesn't matter how many times we beg them. It frankly doesn't matter how many times we Twitter them. But when they've got a lawsuit over their heads, they suddenly do stuff. Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay. Anyway, so let's have a quick look at questions. Let's see. I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to try and scan for good questions. Hi to all of you that have jumped on. G'day to Joe. Joe Young sounds very Australian. Nick, you must be an early riser if you're in Australia. Let's see. Lots of down under people. Okay, I thought it was too early. I thought about this actually, but I thought it was too early for our down under folk. Welcome to you. I'm hoping, by the way, I just had a very quick chat on Twitter with Jesse. We're very concerned, obviously, about the Sydney embassy. That's probably, whilst there are many embassies that are doing really stupid stuff at the moment and they need attacking, the Sydney embassy is just so mind-blowingly stupid that one needs to just get sorted out. So I'm hoping that the lawsuit for that embassy will cause some quick action, and if it does, then for the people that participated in the Sydney lawsuit, they actually can get a little bit of a refund, as I understand it. Anyway, so do we have an update on DV 2021? Right. So the position on DV 2021 and DV 2020 is that the government have filed their appeals. They're appealing all of the lawsuits. The Gomez case, which includes Acker and Fong Jong and Mohammed and Kennedy. They're appealing the DV 2021 cases, which is the Go and the Good Luck cases. They're appealing everything. And basically what they're trying to do is protect themselves, on the riot order as well. They're trying to protect themselves from being forced to issue visas after the end of the fiscal year. It's not that they hate immigrants. They just don't like to be in a position where every year somebody's going to end up suing them to reserve visas. They don't like the reservation of visas. They don't like having to alter their systems in order to issue visas after the end of the fiscal year. These are sort of important guidelines for them, because up until now, they've had the ability to close down every year and sort of do a reset, right? How nice if we could all do our jobs like that. You can work as badly as you like up until September 30th, and then you get to reset everything. You get a do-over the whole next year, and you can just tell everyone from the previous year, well, bugger off, your year's finished. How nice if we could all have our lives like that. But it's not like that, and so so they're being sued, and they're being told they have to reserve visas, and they don't like it. If they would just do their job right, they wouldn't be sued every year. That's what I would say to them. So we've got to watch anyway, Alicia. We've got to watch to see what happens in those appeals. They've asked for a stay. A stay means that they want to delay the issuance of the visas. The systems are being modified anyway, and that's going to take until about April. So we're not going to have any DV 2021 visas issued until at least April, probably more like May or so on. So we have to just be patient and just see what happens. What do I think about the next visa bulletin? It will happen. Next question. I understand your question. You want a prediction from me. I understand that. I'm not going to give a prediction. I did explain in a video a few weeks ago, just before the last visa bulletin, I did explain the technical reasons why there was no movement necessary in the visa bulletin, right? And the next day, lo and behold, that's what happened. There was basically no movement in the visa bulletin. And it was because there were more than enough people already current, and if we assume a certain level of documentarily qualified cases, there were probably enough people that were already ready for scheduling. They didn't need to increase the numbers. I think those conditions still exist now, which indicates to me that we shouldn't expect a big increase in numbers. Having said that, the lawsuits are obviously impacting them, and the threat of lawsuits impacts them. And it's Jesse's point. One of Jesse's points is that he feels they'll move the visa bulletin a bit faster, perhaps not go current, but move faster, in order to show any judge that they're doing some stuff, right? It might happen that way, but we have to wait and see what will happen. Okay. Can you add Arabic language for translation, please? I wish I could speak Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, but if you turn on capturing, I think there's captions or something on this, and you may be able to convert it to Arabic. But other than that, you're probably best off to listen to some of the YouTube channels that speak Arabic, and there are some I know that listen to me and then have similar information available to others. I don't know if Asia is going to be current. I don't know if any region is going to be current. No predictions. We had our interview last month, qualified with work experience. Good. They still require education documents and have our application on hold. They shouldn't still be requiring education documents, other than saying if they qualified you on, you might get, I hope you prepared well for the interview, Rita. If they qualified you on work experience, they should not need any education documents at all, other than to establish that you can make a good go of it in America, right? So that worries me a little bit. Let me know, post on my blog, if that goes sort of sideways at all, post on my blog and let me know what happens there. Let's see if I can answer this one. I don't know if you have an answer. My case number, do you have an idea about? No idea. No, you've asked me this, I think, 30 or 40 times, and I still don't have any idea, which is the same answer I've given you previously. I have no idea. Joe Young's in LA now. Awesome. Good for you. Congratulations and welcome. Can we say something concerning 2021 and 2020 cases? I just did. Are you going to keep on or next month suddenly? Are they going to keep on or suddenly stop again? Oh, you're talking about the visa bulletin. Yeah, I don't know. I said what I've got to say about that. I don't know what's going to happen. I can calculate things mathematically. I can apply logic to the thing, but I don't know what's happening with COVID, for example. There was an embassy in Tbilisi that just cancelled a bunch of interviews because of increasing COVID cases there. I can't predict that, right? I don't know what the COVID situation is all around the world. I don't know which country is about to invade other countries, although I can guess which is most likely. I don't know what countries are going to go through civil war, and there's tons of factors that are going on in the world at the moment that will affect things, and I can't predict those things. So, and obviously we've got the sort of the behaviour of the government, lack of behaviour, lack of effort, etc., which will suddenly change because of lawsuits. So I will have to wait and see. Thank you for the answers in the Telegram group. You're welcome. I started off attending that Telegram group with the honest intention of not saying anything, and it's a bit of a time sink. And I would rather people ask me questions on my blog, because a question can be asked there, I can answer it there, and more people will see it. What I find in the Telegram group is that because people don't bother to search for answers by me, my answer. I'll type out something and I'll answer something in the Telegram group. 2 minutes, I kid you not, 2 minutes later or 30 seconds later, somebody will ask the very same question. They're not bothering to look, right? And then on top of that, there are a bunch of people in the Telegram group that keep answering things in a stupid way, guessing stuff and making incorrect assumptions and just, arguing with obvious points, etc. And the reason my blog is named is BritSimonSays.com is because I do know what I'm talking about, and I wanted the ability to put out there the information that Brit Simon says, right? If my word is the same as anybody else's word, some numpty sitting there in some place in God knows where who thinks he's figured everything out and actually has no idea. If that's the situation, then where's the value of my voice there? There's no value there, because I just sound like I'm the same as that other idiot, right? It's not right. I mean, let alone the bloggers that are out there that, just come out with a bunch of nonsense, because they put videos out there. I'm about to tell you everything you need to do. And by the end, and you watch the video, and by the end of the video, they've said nothing. Or worse yet, they've said, silly assumptions. Like we had one the other day where the announcement from the government that they were halfway through the year. And so one of the bloggers, big blogger, assumed that meant that they had scheduled 25,000 interviews, where we all know that's not true. It's like, why do you say these things? Anyway, so that's my rant, Mohammed. I'm glad you're getting your questions anyway. Is it really 9 a.m. in Australia? I thought this was much earlier than that, but good morning to you all. Well, lots of Aussies here today. It's great. Did I see the state post on social media? Yes. Let me explain that. Since it's been so badly interpreted by others. What they said was, and it's not just the blogger and other bloggers, it's some of the lawyers did the same thing. What they said was, we're halfway through the year for scheduling of interviews. And everyone's like, well, you've only done 1,000 cases. How could you say you're halfway through? One guy actually messaged me and said, well, if they've done 1,100 issuances and they say they're halfway through, does that mean they're going to do another 1,100 and that's it? I'm like, oh, God. No, it doesn't mean that. Read what it says. It says we're halfway through the year for scheduling of interviews. What they meant by that was that they were, this would normally be the point which they'd stopped scheduling March interviews, right? March interviews would normally all have been scheduled by the end of January. Now, right now, in these difficult times, they're going a few days into the beginning of the following month. So we're actually seeing 2NLs, 469 were sent out today. So we're seeing 2NLs in the first few days, and we will see a few more March 2NLs being sent out, I hope. But what they're saying is, March is the 6th month. So they're saying they're halfway through the year for scheduling, not for issuing, not for number of, cases processed or anything else like that, just for scheduling. And it's an accurate statement, right? So if you actually read the statement and understand what the statement means, instead of assuming what it doesn't mean, it's an accurate statement, okay? Not a good statement. It's, to be proud of the fact that you've spent half the year and only done 10% of the cases. Not a good statement, but that's not what they said. They said they were halfway through the year for scheduling. So, people shouldn't get worked up about that, apart from me getting worked up. Where can I go to apply for the lottery? You can go on the internet. It's done on the internet. Nowhere else. You can do it from anywhere. You could be located in Paris. You could be in Africa. You could be in Asia. You could be on Mars. Nobody gives a damn where you are, as long as you have access to the internet, right? So that's all you need to do. Had my interview today. Thanks for everything. All right. AL, I'm assuming not only you had your interview, but it was successful, right? I hope so. Congratulations. It's the interviews are easy if you're properly prepared for these things. The interviews are easy, 5 minutes or less, which is why it drives me nuts when we have the government, for example, saying they can't do. There's one embassy where they've said they've got a 5-year backlog. In a 2-year period, they managed to build up a 5-year backlog. Explain that to me. But also, if you take that 5-year backlog, it means that they're saying they can do about 500 cases a year. That's 10 a week. How the hell do they spend all their time doing 10 a week? What the hell are they doing? Because the DV interviews take about 10 minutes. So, not even 10 minutes normally less than that. When do I expect KCC will finish processing in all DS260s? Good question. You've been paying attention. Thank you for that, Elias. I do expect them to process all the DS260s relatively soon. People getting worried about DS260s or assuming that they're in May and that they're in June now and all this thing, that's all bullshit. That's just misunderstanding. The reality is they can process DS260s much faster than they can schedule the interviews. So we should get to a point relatively soon. And I don't know when that's going to be, and I'm not going to predict it. But we should get to a point where all the DS260s are processed, that have been sent through in a reasonable timeline. So somebody, for example, asked me today, they had not applied for their DS260 yet and said, is it too late? And I said, no, it's not too late. You can go ahead and do that. If you do it now, you'll be fine. Now, that person had other issues as well there in Australia, and there's other concerns with that. But in terms of getting the processing of DS260s is not the problem. That's not what I think the problem will be. Okay, it's about the embassies, and it's about KCC moving stuff through quickly enough. Do I expect it to be current in the year? I've already talked about that. I'm not going to answer that question. What's your chances of getting a 2NL? I'm not going to answer that. I can't predict individual cases. I'm not going to predict the end of the year. I'm not going to predict, which regions will go current. So bunch of questions that I'm just not going to answer, like this one from Sylvia. Do you think that 2NL are going in the right way for DV 2022 with this scheduling these days? Right. So up until yesterday, they had issued around about 1,700 2NLs for March, right? I had said that I would be impressed, I would be pleased if I saw something like 3,000 2NLs for the month of March, right? So there were about 1,700 yesterday. They've added 469 today. So that takes them to about 2,200 or so. Rough numbers. I'm having to estimate that slightly because the visa bulletin was issued on the 13th of last month now, of January. And so I took the numbers as of the 12th of the month as being the end of the February interviews and the beginning of the March interviews. I can't be 100% certain about that, but that's roughly what I think happened, right? So every 2NL that has been issued since the 13th of January, I consider to be a March 2NL. And that means that they were about 1,700 yesterday and added nearly 500 today. And so is that enough? No, it's not quite enough. 2,200 interviews, it's not enough. It represents about 4,500 people, but it's better than they have been doing. It's an increase of the pace. And so, it's getting better. But I would like to see over the next few days some more 2NLs being issued at that sort of pace. We'll see. I'm confused with EBM Scholar of half years. Yeah, EBM was just incorrect. It's not the first time, frankly, that EBM has made a mistake. EBM has built a very successful channel. He's got a lot of very good information on writing a book and salad recipes from Tanzania and all sorts of things. And he's an interesting guy, etc. But he's not. I'm sorry, EBM Ernest. You're not an expert on DV. There's some things you said in the past which I've pointed out are inaccurate to the point of being dangerous, right? So if you want good, accurate DV information, I'm sorry, but EBM is not the channel for you. Okay, and I don't mean to be critical of another YouTube channel. There's lots of good information on his channel, but the DV, he throws in DV inaccuracies all the time. But many other bloggers do. I mean, it's not just that. Anyway, so what you heard about the statement that he made, I just said it was inaccurate, and it's not the first time. Another one. Oh, hang on. It's the same person, right? I had police paper since. Right, police certificates last 2 years, so you can, go as long as it's not 2 years old at the time you interview. I personally would get it if it's possible to renew your certificates nearer the interview. I would do that. If they're, yours is, you're saying it's going to be, it's probably going to be a year old. It's not too bad, but you could renew later. That's the other thing you could do. It's up to you. Depends how difficult it is to get a new police certificate. After transfer my interview location, can I go in visit visa and give interview there? My spouse is always going there for interview after. You're not really being very clear, RJ. When you say the visit visa, do you mean to go here in America or to the other place where you've asked to transfer? It's not very clear. Can't answer that one. Maybe you're repeating that same question again. Please stop that. What's the state of 2022 interviews in Ghana? Ghana has got a few interviews already scheduled, but not enough. We'll have to see what they do over the next few days. I'm not quite ready to update what I've called my shit list, the list of embassies that are doing a really bad job, until I see all of the March interviews going out, right? I'll assess the embassies again at that point. And my process for creating the shit list was just fairly informal. It was done like that, right? It was done for a specific meeting that I was having with Jesse and his partners or his colleagues at Wasden Benias. And so I put it together very quickly, and people have latched onto that as being 100% accurate information. Is not at this point what I consider to be 100% accurate. There are some embassies that have done absolutely no effort, that's true, and they are definitely on my shit list. There are other embassies, such as Cairo, for example, that still only has 13 cases that deserve to be on the shit list. That's accurate. But there are some other embassies that I haven't listed on my shit list that probably should be there. Okay? I love that I'm sitting here. When I was a kid, I wouldn't have said the word shit in public, but I'm a grown-up now. I can say whatever the hell I want. This is for you, says, where do you see the data from CEAC to know which case numbers are at and which stage? You can see it on savediversityvisa.org. That's one of the places. You can see it on Zarthisius's website. He does really nice visualizations of what the data really means. I like Zarthisius's website, but the data is being constantly refreshed. At MVC, by the way, you're asking about that. At MVC does not mean your case is at MVC. No DV case is ever processed or anything else by MVC. It's never at MVC. The CEAC status shows at MVC. It simply is the starting status for all cases, every single one of the cases, right? They all start with that status. And it simply means, it can mean you haven't submitted a DS-260 at all. You have submitted a DS-260, but it's not processed. You may have been processed, but not scheduled yet. It could be all sorts of things, right? So just ignore everything it says about MVC. It's nothing to do with, with that. After Turk video, did anything happen for them? Oh, okay. There was a rumor I saw today that there was a video compiled, which it was for Turkey, and I sort of pushed it a little bit and supported it. It was a very brief video. I saw it as representative. It was definitely about a country. It was people in a country asking the embassy for more interviews. It was heartbreaking to watch, frankly. It was families and decent people asking for a simple thing. The same video could be made in any number of a couple of hundred countries around the world. It's the same issues for everybody. There was a rumor I saw today that the people on that video had been given interviews. The rumor is not true, right? First of all, they didn't suddenly contact those people because, firstly, there was no names on that videos, right? There was no way that the embassy could actually go and contact all the people on that video. Having said that, there has been a good distribution, and we'll see it tomorrow. There's been a good distribution of interviews to that group. So arguably, you could say that the video and the campaign around that helped. I don't know. You could say that, or you could look at the lawsuits. I don't know. We can't be sure, right? But you'll see a lot of accepted cases tomorrow, probably on the SEAC data. They'll change from in transit. They're in transit today. They'll change from in transit to ready tomorrow. Okay, you're from Afghanistan. You presently live in Turkey. Your visa lottery confirmation number is AS 25,000. Do you have any idea about what month? No, that's obviously a pretty high number. I don't know if it's going to get to you or when that's going to be. My sense of humor is outrageous. Yeah, I tone it down for these videos, believe me. So the emergency approved C-19 COVID-19 vaccines are now required in reality for a green card. If your country has the availability of COVID-19 vaccines, when you go for the physical checkup, they will ask you about COVID-19. They'll ask for proof of that, and they may actually be able to administer the COVID-19 vaccines there. I don't know. However, if your country does not have general availability of COVID-19 vaccines, the physician is able to pass your medical even though you've not got the vaccines, right? Because there is an assumption that immigrants have been through a medical and have therefore received all of the appropriate and available vaccines within their country. Now, if you can get the vaccine, I consider you to be a complete bloody idiot if you don't get the vaccine, right? Let's just be honest about that. You are a moron if you think it's a good idea not to get the vaccine. But there are some people who can't get the vaccine for very small reasons. And I'm not talking about bullshit religious exemptions. Don't even start with that, right? I'm talking about people who for the reasons of their health, and there's a tiny, tiny percentage of people, they should not get the vaccines. Everybody else, you're on my shit list if you don't get the vaccine. So if it's available to you, you damn well get it. And if you don't get it and you want to argue with me, I'd love to have a little argument about that. I'll show you all the people that say, what was his name? Officer Lehman, I think it was. There was a video of this guy from October, the end of October, and he's resigning from his job because he was told as a cop that he had to get a vaccine in order to keep his job, right? And so there was a big viral video of him going on and signing off his radio. This is the last time you'll hear from me, and screw Jay Ainsley or whatever. And he's dead now. That guy is dead now. He's left a family with 2 kids because he was a stupid arsehole that wouldn't get a vaccine that would have saved his life. Completely unnecessary death. 52 years old. So don't even start with people not getting vaccines. It pisses me off. So there you go. I'm in a bit of a mood this afternoon, aren't I? And I got 5 minutes left. Right. Ankara posted on the website 18th of January that they're resuming all immigrant visa country. Yeah. Could be solely to do with that. Absolutely could be. I think it's quite a lot. And they up to now have been doing a sort of a tiered prioritization, but it could be to do with that. I don't think the whole 469 is to do with that, but it could be quite a lot of them are to do with that. Oh my God, my wife's just got her her American passport. We've recently become American citizens, and my wife is just standing at the office door showing me her passport there. That's wonderful. Oh, this is interesting. You got denied. So the background check came later after 9:30. Oh, fuck. Excuse me. That word I wouldn't normally say online. Okay, so you got denied because they were delayed in the background check. And so your case timed out on 9:30. Were you a part of the lawsuit? You should speak to a lawyer. Abdo, speak to a lawyer. I think your chance is probably gone unless you were on a lawsuit. But and you probably weren't on a lawsuit because adjustment of status, we wouldn't normally recommend you're on the lawsuit. But contact a lawyer. Your chance is probably gone, to be honest with you. Normally the 9:30 deadline is hard and fast. It's only people who are protected by a lawsuit that have a chance to extend that deadline. And the DV 2021 case, there was no class action. So you were either on the Go lawsuits or on the Good Luck lawsuits or on the Rye lawsuits, which wouldn't apply to you. So, unless you were in Go or Good Luck, you probably don't have any chance. But speak to a lawyer. Speak to Curtis, Jesse, or Chuck, one of those three groups. Okay. Do you think a petition towards individual embassies? Try anything you like, John. If you think that you've got some sort of way of petitioning an embassy, by all means do that. The lawyers have a little bit more of an extra weapon. They can petition an individual embassy, they can contact an embassy, but they can also contact state, and the government lawyers will then contact the embassy. That's a different scenario. But if you think you can get through to an embassy and get them to see, to do something, by all means, be my guest. Please do that. Okay. The 322 NLs in EU, they'll all be March. There's no April. The April 2 NLs will be sent out only after the April, after the next visa bulletin, it's a confusing thing, but the next visa bulletin will be published around about between February 8th and the 15th, right? It's called the March visa bulletin, and it gives us advance notice of the April numbers. So it's published in February, it's called March, and it's really concerning April. It's kind of dopey. But so until that's been published, all of the 2NLs we're seeing now, they're all for March. So that's those 320 EU ones for March for sure. What does this reply mean, says Alvin? That reply means you're documentarily qualified. They're saying that your DS-260 is processed. Ignore all the other stuff. It basically means you're ready for scheduling. You just have to wait for scheduling now. You've got an appointment lined up at 16th of February in Ankara. That's great. Yes, DV cases are being issued. There's about 1,200 visas already being issued. So yeah, they're being issued. Okay. One more question, if I can find an interesting one. One, two. Okay, let's answer this one. Prince Owusu. If your post is past Czech Republic, and chargeability is Ghana, where will I be scheduled? Your post, when your chargeability, I saw another blogger completely mangle this explanation, not EBM, but somebody else. Another blogger said this. Your chargeability is basically your country of birth. Normally, it should be a country of birth. There's some rare cases where you can be charged to another country. That chargeability is not necessarily where you live, right? Your post, when they say your post is Prague, that means because they think you're living in Prague, right? And or Czechoslovakia, and so, or Czech Republic, I should say. That's your post. That's where you'll be interviewed, right? So you'll be scheduled in Prague. That's where you would expect to be scheduled, even though your chargeability is Ghanaian. Okay. It says, I'm just reading the letter part. You indicated in DS260 to be interviewed at ACRA. That would be dumb if you did that. Why the hell would you want to be interviewed in ACRA? ACRA denies like a huge percentage of cases. Why the hell would you want to be interviewed in ACRA? That's silly. But anyway, even if you told them you were living in Prague, then that's where they'll schedule you. They'll ignore your choice. You know, they're not interested in your choice. They're interested in where you're living. Okay. All right, everybody. I've got to sign off now. I've got a 3 o'clock meeting, which is in 2 minutes. So I appreciate you coming online. I've hopefully answered a few interesting questions for you. But I'll try and do this again in a couple of days' time. I'll try and do this more often. And now I know that I can get people in down under. I'll try and do some in the afternoon like this as well. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.